guest. Steve Kerr is head coach of the Golden State
Were
Warriors.
you surprised?
A little bit.
I was surprised to see Steve Kerr as a guest.
Well, Draymond Green asked Steve Kerr on what it's like watching the finals without being in it.
Yeah, that was how they started the pod.
Here's what Steve Kerr had to say.
On the one hand, it's burning me up. On the other hand, I just sort of, count my blessings. Like, I think, I've been coaching the team 9 years. We missed the playoffs twice. 6 of the 7 years we made the finals. So this is the first year, like you said, first year we haven't made the finals. But who gets to say that? I mean, that's just there's so much good fortune. We've had such an incredible group. So this year was we came up short. It's no fun watching the finals, but at the same time, we don't deserve to be there. We weren't good enough. So, I can live with that. We got to get better.
All right, they got to get better. And then how one coaching move can change everything.
When I think back to 2015, the biggest move we made was in the second round when we were playing Memphis and we were down 2-1. Ron Adams suggested that we put Andrew Bogut on Tony Allen in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And they were just controlling the tempo. And I remember we were on the plane when he said it. And I remember thinking, why would we do that? Like that seems crazy. And so the more we watched film, the more I could picture it. And then we did it. It was like magic. It was like, oh my God, this changed everything. And that was my first experience as a coach where I realized one matchup change, just one move can change a series dramatically.
Now, I wonder if that move for Miami was Kevin Love being inserted back into the starting lineup.
Yeah, so like Caleb Martin claimed he was sick or whatever and had a fever. And then there were people coming out of Miami that covered the team like, maybe they just said he was sick to give Kevin Love opportunities to go out there, and then that put Jimmy Butler onto someone else, and it kind of switched up some of their defensive assignments. And I guess the question, because I listened to the pod preceding that, was, when you make these adjustments in this series, like where does that come from? And Steve Kerr's like, really, in my history, the first one was that Tony Allen switch.
Tony Allen switch where you don't even guard him. And then, of course, they made a switch in the NBA Finals, starting Andre Iguodala for Andrew Bogut, and the rest is history. Now we see these teams do it all the time. So there's some more sound coming into this. On the Heat buying into team basketball, here's what Steve Kerr had to say about that.
The huge three in the fourth quarter tonight, and it's like none of those guys on Miami are sitting there saying, "Well, I didn't play," or "Man, they put in so and so." Like they're just all about winning. And this from our groups that we've had. When you have that championship mentality, every guy's bought in. Every guy's just trying to win. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. You don't go into the locker room, saying, "Well, I should have played more." You just want to win, and that's the beauty of finding that magic when you have a championship team. Is that everybody's bought in, and it makes the decisions for the coach really simple. You just go with your gut and go with whoever's playing well.
Were the Warriors bought in this year? Because it sounds like...
Well, I think a lot of people are going to pivot to the bottom end, meaning the youngsters. I would argue, like, if the opportunity presented itself and Klay had to sit on the bench, is he accepting that?
I think he would. He may not like it, but he'd come off the bench.
If Draymond was asked to sit in the fourth quarter, would he accept that?
Well, he did sit in the fourth quarter, and he complained about it, but he sat his ass down.
Okay. So, no,
he sat his ass down.
There is absolutely reality that the youngsters were clearly, whether it's Poole, Kuminga, Moody, whomever, sad that they didn't get to play. There's no doubt about it. But I would say, you can't ask someone to do something you're not willing to do yourself as a boss at times. And I just feel like there is hey, we get to do this, meaning the veterans, and y'all need to do that. And there's nothing that frustrates me more than do as I say, not as I do.
The Klay Thompson to the bench thing is interesting.
I'm just saying as a reference.
No, I know. But it's come up a lot over the last 2 seasons since he's come back. And now we may get to that point where it's like, hey, Klay, you want to extend your career? Maybe you have to come off your bench. This is why Michael Thompson comes into play. Michael Thompson came off the bench later in his career. I don't know what coming off the bench on this team does for you. Starting Jordan Poole. Do you want a backcourt of Jordan Poole and Steph Curry? Maybe your defense gets better. I have no idea. I have no idea how that works out. But I do think I don't want to assume that Klay Thompson wouldn't accept the role. We've seen everybody accept the role, although it was quick. Wiggins came off the bench for his first game back, which was appropriate, but he was quickly back in the starting lineup. Draymond Green came off the bench for 2 games, then he was back in the starting lineup for Game 7. Came off the bench for Games 4, 5, and 6, I should say, and then he was back in that starting lineup. So it may not be a long-term fixture. By the way, I was going on this Last Dance. I love the Last Dance documentary. Love it. And I was watching most of it Friday. First of all, I'm never taking anybody over Michael Jordan for one game. I'm just the guy. I did not realize how many times he said he took things personal. Like how everybody, he had a list. Everything. Like it
he
becomes
even
comical.
Made stuff up.
LeBradford Smith
Dude,
said he put his arm around Jordan and said,
not true.
"Nice game, Mike." Like, why would you even make that up? Poor LeBradford Smith. He scores 36 and a half after LeBradford scores 37 in the game. But 32 years ago today, this is what's fun about the finals. 32 years ago today, Michael Jordan's iconic dunk, the layup hand switch against the Lakers.
Right to
the
left.
91 finals.
One of the
that
first.
happened 32 years ago today.
One of the more iconic Gatorade commercials, too, that I think of.
Yep. Want to be like Mike Klay. What's this ass? 510.
What's that?
Comcast business text line. Is there any validity to this? Klay was asked to come off the bench at the beginning of the season and didn't do it.
I don't remember that.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Not once.
Well, so there's a couple of things when you're talking about Miami and everyone buying in to win. There's an element of like Caleb Martin's under a 2-year contract right now. Right. And, everyone makes this big deal about being undrafted and he's under a deal right now. Duncan Robinson signed a bigger deal. Lowry's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. A lot of these guys have to play nice if they want to play next year. A lot of these guys have to be on their best behavior if they want someone else to get them signed next year. And I think Lowry's a great example. I think he's making $40 million this year.
He's making a lot of money.
Right? But he's a free agent at the end of the year. If he doesn't accept the role that Miami is presenting to himself, he's limiting the amount of suitors that he has moving forward.
Well, he realized, too, that if he doesn't accept that role, they probably would have got rid of his ass.
But he's a little farther down the line than I believe Draymond and Klay Thompson are. But I look at them, and I understand from their perspective, Draymond's in particular.
Kyle Lowry, $29.6 million.
Oh, I thought it was more. And well, then I stand corrected.
But it's still a lot of money.
It is for someone who's not good.
Right.
And then I look at someone like Draymond, like he wanted to get a contract extension. So if he accepts a lesser role, he's in essence probably accepting lesser money on a deal moving forward. And all of us can relate to, no, I want to get paid the most amount of money that I'm going to get. And so I understand being selfish and wanting to not limit yourself because you're limiting yourself financially.
But that's interesting right there because if Draymond Green does sign an extension with the Warriors this season, and to your point, he's got his money in the pocket.
And
now he's like, you can do whatever you want with me. You want me to come off the bench? Sure, why not? Klay Thompson's got $43 million left, but he's playing for that next extension.
And I think he needs to play nice.
Right. He does need to play nice.
You know what I mean? Like for other people to view him.
But I think that's something this offseason the Warriors need to nip that in the bud.
What do you mean?
This offseason, they need to have that conversation because, listen, if it's Jordan Poole starting for Klay Thompson, what is Jordan? You can't just give a spot to Jordan Poole. He's got to go out there and earn it. I don't know if he earned that thing.
If Draymond comes back, I just don't see how Jordan Poole can come back.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. That's an entirely separate conversation.
Yeah, I'm
but
sorry.
I'm just Klay Thompson for a second.
Yeah.
Just sticking on to him. You got to have that conversation going into the season. And you got to have it now. Hey, Klay, this is the plan for next season. You have to come off the bench. And if he doesn't accept it this offseason, now you have time to maybe work out a deal.
So let me ask you about
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
No,
if you do that, like, hey, Klay,
point.
we're going to do this.
But who's going to be starting in front of him?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want to bench Klay Thompson. That's why the argument to me is stupid. Because who's better? When you think about space on the floor, and if you have Draymond Green in that lineup with Kevon Looney, I need some shooting outside. And even then, the shooters are not going to have room to move around because you got two guys who defenses don't even respect. Think about Miami last night. You're watching them. You got
Robinson,
5 threats.
Yes.
Denver, you have 5 threats. Even Aaron Gordon hit a 3 late.
Yep.
He's a threat offensively. Draymond Green and Looney to opposing teams aren't even threats offensively. They just sag right off of them, and they camp out on defense, which, again, takes away the spacing for Stephen Curry, takes away the spacing for Klay Thompson.
So, but do you see, I just want to pause for just a second. Do you see a scenario, I don't see this, but let's say everyone comes back, Draymond, Poole included. Would Klay go to the bench in favor of Jordan Poole in terms of starting the game?
Yeah, but what does that do for the offense?
No,
does
no,
that
I'm
change
asking
anything?
you, would he, forget what it does.
Sure.
Would he accept that?
I'm sure.
I
don't
think
know.
he'd have a hard time accepting that. I think
Especially with the way Jordan Poole started to pout at the end of the season.
just in general. And then, you got 1 year left on your deal. Draymond has the opt-in. If he, let's say right now, if Draymond opts in or they work out some sort of an extension, now he's got a multi-year deal. You don't. I don't know. I think we're kind of.
I know. Number one,
we're going over the human element.
Defensively, I don't think Jordan Poole plays at a level high enough.
No, I
in
agree.
this league
I'm just
to start.
saying, would he accept it emotionally?
I don't know. Probably not. But Steve Kerr, and 5-0 just said something, just throw it up against the wall.
What's that?
Klay was never asked to come off the bench. Unless you got a source on that, I'll stand corrected and say, hey, I apologize. But to my knowledge, Klay was never asked about that. And when Klay came back last year, January 9th, when he missed 2 seasons and missed 941 days due to the leg injuries, Steve Kerr said all along while he was out, when they asked him a question, when Klay comes back, will he start? And Steve Kerr unequivocally said, absolutely, he's starting. It's not even a question. He's starting. So that could have been nipped in the butt right then and there. Said it would have been, I think, easier to say, hey, Klay, you've been off for 2 years. We're going to work you back in slowly. We're going to bring you off the bench, let Jordan Poole continue. That was the time to do it. But Steve Kerr planted his flag all season long and said, when Klay comes back, he is starting. And from then on, you can't go back. You can't go back because all of a sudden you lose one of your trusted veterans and you risk losing one of your locker room. We know Draymond, Steph, Klay, they all ride together. And these veterans ride together.
Well, I think
that's why the rookie thing didn't work out here.
But it's interesting you say that because I agree with you. You can't lose one of the veterans. But the problem with the way the team was constructed right now, riding with the one veteran, the reverse of that is that you lost all the young guys.
Exactly. So you already had that. You already had some rebellion in the locker room in the first place.
I mean, it just feels like to me something's got to give.
It goes on to locker room dynamics.
What do you get? Like what's got to give for you? Do you think you got to give up on the rookies, or do you think you got to give a little off the veterans?
I don't know. I'm look. Draymond Green sounds like he's coming back, and Draymond Green had a fantastic basketball season. My stance on Draymond is there was a lot going on off the floor, and the season went awry because of what happened before the season. And I don't want to revisit and talk about that. But they all admit that. Steve Kerr, Draymond Green, with their own words. It came out of their mouths, not ours, their mouths that incident kind of screwed up everything. The vibe, the camaraderie. So I don't know how you get that back. But one thing I was going to get to is we all pinpoint Klay Thompson's struggles from the three-point line against the LA Lakers. Did you see Stephen Curry's numbers from three?
Terrible.
In that series?
Yeah, I think 31%.
Terrible, right?
Or maybe I might even be too high.
But we're hyper focused on Klay Thompson. I get it because Steph Curry does a lot more. He has the ball in his hands.
He had unbelievable assist games and things like that.
But Steph Curry also struggled. And my point is this: he struggled from three, and Klay struggled from three. Why did they struggle from three? Well, one, obviously, they didn't shoot the ball well. But two, the Lakers were able to get into them and really take away their airspace. Why were they able to take away their airspace? Because he had two non-scorers on the floor. Kevon Looney and Draymond Green. That style of basketball, playing essentially 3-on-5, where you got two guys not looking at the basket, I don't think you can win like that anymore. I think those days are done for the Warriors. Now, I would love to be proven wrong. I'll love to be proven wrong. But when you got two bigs who don't even look at the basket, now all of a sudden, Klay Thompson's, he had some great looks in that series, but for the most part, they shut him down. But they also slowed down Steph Curry from the three-point line. What does that tell you? You don't have any spacing offensively. So I think we're talking about the wrong guy coming off the bench.
So who's the wrong guy? Well, who's the guy then?
The guy should be Draymond Green.
I think there are certain matchups you want him to start, and there's other matchups it does. I think when you're looking at some of the second unit lineups, I think Draymond could be a great facilitator alongside some of the younger players. Yeah. But I just don't know if he's ready to accept that. He views himself a certain way. I don't know, man. And this is where some of the ego has to give a little on some of these guys on both ends, the youngsters and the older guys.